And here it is, R1300 GS in all its glory, here in the trophy version, the one more devoted to enduro, the off-road Emants. But later we will also try the road one, so I'll show it to you. First contact. I am in fact in Malaga in Spain for the press test. This is a first taste of the GS. Its capabilities and the first impressions are obviously, wow, stunning, what an incredible bike. The question is, could you improve what is already considered a reference both in market numbers and obviously in performance and quality? Well, in BMW, obviously they were convinced, yes, they did it. How? By completely revolutionizing the GS, which has changed all in every screw, starting with the engine, which is now 1300 by virtue of the increased bore, which brings a dowry of torque. However, very vigorous at the low end, there is always the shift cam system. We have a 145 horsepower at 7,750 revolutions and 149 Newton meter. So a nice mighty torque. But what amazes once in the saddle, that amazes again, is the sweetness of this engine because you go up. It is nice and smooth, puts at ease even those who are not. A super throttle. But then when you open, when you decide to give gas, it makes you feel all its nastiness. R1003 GS, that has changed all, starting from the design that has left. It has made much discussion. Of course, there is no longer the symmetrical headlight. We have this X-rolling, very particular original likes, not likes. But on the other hand, we know the GS is a bike that more than any other divides opinions, because as I often say, the GS is to motorcycling a bit like the iPhone, is to telephony. So it is that product that arouses curiosity, anyway, interest, even envy, and is still the reference you want for performance, you want for the price, however important in this regard. Let's start with this information. I remember the starting price of the GS, then I'll show you what is the GS as well. The GS base, this is the trophy, so it already has the spoked wheels, the coloring in short, a more off-road oriented equipment. To change is not only the boxerone that increases in displacement by virtue of an increase in the bore to feel 6.5 millimeters, now delivers 145 horsepower, so 107 kilowatts at 7,750 revolutions, the torque of 149 Newton meters, in fact at 6,500 revolutions. But what impresses already from the first meters is still the operation of the shift cam that makes the engine very docile under, if we do not go to open the throttle too much, but that turns it into a beautiful beast, a beautiful beast. As soon as we go to take over the throttle more decisively, changes everything. I was saying about this GS 1003, you can see it much more compact, more streamlined. What changes, especially at the level of design, is not only the front with the discussed X-rolling headlight, but also this central part, more full. It is true, there are more plastics, more cover. Let's say it is less, if we want in quotes, masculine compared to the trellis, to the tubular of the previous version, more refined, more combed if we want. But it is very, very beautiful, this frame, this rear frame. You can customize, of course, the seat, but above all, you can also choose between different suspensions. Here we have a standard suspension, so with a saddle height of 850 millimeters, you can choose to have the suspension that automatically adjusts in height and goes down 30 millimeters when we slow down below 25 kilometers per hour, to go up 30 millimeters when we exceed 50 kilometers per hour, thus making life easier for us when maybe we are fully loaded, maybe we are a little short of leg, we prefer to have a support, maybe even off-road, we go a little bit zampetting the sport suspension that instead increase the travel of 20 millimeters, both front and rear. We know the GS has always been a very customizable bike. Now it is, if possible, even more so, because we really can circle on and creates from this point of view a new standard, because you can intervene on virtually any aspect, also on the various types of plastics. Then the aerodynamic protection factor, by the way, that is not at all trivial given the touring use of the GS. And since the first fears could be that with a more compact front, narrower, there was less protection to the air after the first kilometers. I can already say that it is not so. With the low windshield, you can feel some airflow on the helmet, but the air is still broken, and broken by these lines that are not here only for aesthetics, but really just operate the lever and raise the windshield to have the protection also on the helmet. So you have a good protection. Then if we want to be more protective, we can mount on the GS any kind of windshield, as well as we can mount different types of saddles clearly, but we can intervene especially on the suspension. Very first meters, the feeling is of an extremely maneuverable bike. You forget about that incredible motor already of the first meters at low speed. So now let's go to discover it. Let's start from the trophy and aim immediately towards a little off-road where it promises to be improved even further. Let's see the beauty of this engine. And third is a decent pickup, I would say, that show this engine a butter. Just enough time to get on the saddle and try the first 3 gears. We immediately start with an off-road among other wet, because precisely last night here in Malaga has made a big storm. Let's see if it is really as easy, this GS, as they promise in BMW. As in short, it has always been characteristic of the GS to be a bike, yes, big and challenging in many respects, but incredibly easy. The impression that it is more collected than the 1250. So it was not just a visual impression, but also once in the saddle, the feeling is that of having a more compact bike anyway. In these situations, however, also having the right tires makes a difference. In this case, the trophy equipped with Metzeler Karoo 4. No uncertainty, no hesitation of this engine that has an insane fluidity. What fluidity, guys, what fluidity. And there are no vibrations practically. I barely feel them on the foot pegs, but because these are the foot pegs without rubbers. It is impressive the ease with which you can lead it even at low speed in the Smosso, in the off-road trails, even by those who maybe are not an endurista, but more a tourist like yours, truly therefore with less guile, but who prefers lower speeds here. it does not put in difficulty incredibly, then there is this fantastic balance that remains of the Boxer. Of this piece of transferring between tracks, to talk a little moment also about the suspension, because yes, the engine is definitely the first thing that has thrilled already in the first few meters for its beauty. However, it must be said that even the suspension is really as good as you could wish for. They do an incredible job because it really feels like being on a flying carpet. They filter very well anything, but above all, they are absolutely customizable. They change behavior depending on the mode engaged, but they can be customizable. If you mount the Dynamic Pro package, they can be customizable on 5 levels, depending on the mode, then to give to adjust even more, up to what you can do at any time. So even as long as we are on the road, we can go to intervene, depending on the existence, precisely on 5 levels. But beyond that already, as soon as you get on with the standard modes, of pressure, it is astonishing as it picks up under 3rd gear as soft. And here we are with the Pure, the starting version, the one that is offered from 20,850 euros. But beware, do not call the base, because it is already very rich in equipment, and it is more than the standard version 1250 in particular. Then this example also mounts additional accessories, such as the windscreen, electrically adjustable deflectors, but above all has the tail longer. So it also allows us to see the difference compared to the Trophy that I showed you before. There is more space to be able to accommodate the saddle, that split saddle, which by the way can be adjusted and moved back and forth, thus ensuring a different lumbar support and more space for the passenger, and possibly then for luggage. But I would like to take advantage of the bike to go and see what is the dashboard, and in particular show you the function of this button that affectionately is called hamburger button. Given its shape and its design, is a button that allows us to be able to choose between some functions. Of course, depend on the options that we have installed. It allows us to choose precisely among these options which we want it to be reached quickly. In this case, for example, we have the windscreen. What does this mean? It means that we will just press the button with the little arrows on the block to have immediately this function. Other peculiarity is definitely this small phone compartment. Right now, there is the keyless key clearly inside. We also find the USB socket. And here we are riding the standard version, the one rubberized road to understand us with alloy wheels there as well. Interesting to note here on the mirror, the yellow signal that tells us the presence of another vehicle in the blind spot. Also excellent feeling in braking that allows you to get safely to the middle of the curve thought. And gives you that extra dose of safety. Really well done. A note on the gearbox it seems to me more contrasty than in the past, and it works very well, especially uphill. It gets a little bit more stuck in downshifting, but maybe it is also due to the fact that I am driving a new model with few miles. I also changed the sound of this GS a little more muffled, a little more discreet. I like it. Even some colleagues found it maybe a little too discreet, preferred something louder. Instead, I like it this way because it does not annoying, but it is present, nice and full. Rather, it seems to me slightly increased by mechanical engine noise, but it could also be a simple impression. Definitely the biggest changes can also be felt in the position. You are a little bit more carried toward the handlebars, plus we have the possibility to intervene a lot on the position with different saddles, or even with small tricks that we have seen allow us to slightly move the saddle, both the drivers and the passengers. However, the variable posture comes into play at 5,000 RPM, but it is not that there is null underneath. In fact, underneath it is still quite present and pushing. No bullshits, ladies and gentlemen, the G's has improved once again. On the narrow mix, it seems to be even more maneuverable than the 1250. Even more agile, incredibly. What a bike, my lords, what a bike. Once again, the G's goes to reset. Reset. What are the standards of our desires? It really offers everything you could want on a motorcycle. All together on one bike. Who knows? Well, the riding position of the 1250 will find important differences. The seat and the foot pegs are even closer. The triangle, possibly saddle handlebar foot pegs, is even more compact than the 1250, and this gives you the feeling precisely to be, even on a smaller bike, more contained, because you are closer to the handlebars. Not only the seat allows more movement, you are not stuck there in the middle, but you can move more. And then there is the possibility of really customizing it to your liking, both by changing the saddles themselves, but also by playing with the positioning already with the standard saddle. Also, if that should not be enough, there is always the little game of suspension that can be adjusted and lowered by 30 millimeters. Therefore, a bike, the GS, that winks more to those looking for a tourist, a little more sporty to those looking for a tourist reachable. Also, from a dimensional point of view, is no longer a bike only for Spillingary. At the end, therefore, of this first contact with the GS, I can only conclude that, yes, my lords, it has improved. Improved on practically every aspect. It has improved engine, it has improved chassis, it has improved as equipment. It has also improved on the level, in my opinion, of comfort, because it puts more still at ease. Even the rider who is not particularly physically gifted, it's not particularly tall, you get on the saddle and you go, and you go immediately strong defects. I honestly couldn't find any. I spent the whole day trying to find something that I didn't like, that didn't go. It's really a bomb. I could say that here, maybe the gearbox is a little bit contrasty, maybe there's a little bit more mechanical noise, but they are really impressions, they are details. This bike is definitely a bomb. Obviously, this is only a first contact. We will go to deepen the knowledge of this bike also, because obviously there is so much to say, to discover, with all the possibilities that there are to customize it. From the point of view of accessories, endowment, position, electronics are basically endless, these possibilities. So we will certainly come back to talk about the GS, maybe even comparing it with other products. So if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to the channel of moto.id and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of our videos anymore. We'll see you at the next one. I hope you liked this video too. If so, let me know in the comments, and as I always say, whether it's gas or power, you always give it, but responsibly high.